to Couch Casual, where casuals like me talk about casual things, everything sports. Today is the finale of the 2024 NFL Free Agency Predictions Series, and today we are going to do defensive backs, which is cornerbacks and safeties. Now, I originally made this on about Monday, and then every single safety basically got released. So we've had to add a bunch of players and also get rid of some that are the lesser talent. But either way, we got a longer one today. So let's get right into it. We're going to first start off with cornerbacks. We have Miles Bryant of the Patriots. I'm just gonna say Miles Bryant is gonna go right back to the Patriots. He's 26, young corner. I don't think they could let him leave. So I have him going back to the Patriots. Speaking of players going back, the next two corners, Stephon Gilmore of the Cowboys and Steven Nelson of the Texans, I also have returning to their said teams. Make it nice and simple. Stephon Gilmore is obviously up there in age, so I don't see a reason why you get rid of him. Same with Steven Nelson, as he is also in his 30s, so I think they just return, as those teams don't. I guess the Texans have decent cap space, but the Cowboys, I'm not sure. Then we get Kendall Fuller of the Commanders. He's a good corner. I like Kendall Fuller. I actually have him going to the Steelers. Steelers have been like landing spots for basically every single new corner and safety that got released. Now, Steelers fans, you might get disappointed with me today of how I have you do in the defensive back department, but just hold on. You still have TJ Watt, that's all I'll say. Then we have JC Jackson of the Patriots. I have him. Now, JC Jackson, he had such a good season with the Chargers, got paid, or had such a good season with the Patriots, got paid by the Chargers, and then just fell off. So I have him going to the Commanders. Commanders have a lot of money. I feel like that a guy like J.C. Jackson who might want to prove himself, they're going to be able to sign a ton of these guys to those cheaper deals, and I think J.C. Jackson is one of them to help out with that corner depth because they need it. They need help out Emmanuel Forbes down there, who had a rocky roller coaster rookie season. Then we have Chidobe Awuzie of the Bengals. It's seeming like he's not going back to the Bengals. All the reports are saying that he's not going to go back. So I'm going to have him going to the Rams. Rams, another team that are linked to a lot of these free agents. They could use some corners, so they can pick up Chidobe Awuzie, very solid corner. Then a recently released guy, one of the first few of the released secondary players, is Darius Williams of the Jags. Great season last year. I believe he had 4 interceptions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Veteran guy. I'm going to have him go to the Panthers. It's speculated that they're going to get rid of Dante Jackson so they can fill that role with a veteran corner who has experience with their defensive coordinator, Evero. So I think that'll be a good fit for them. Then Xavier Howard of the Dolphins. I don't know if he actually said it or if it's just like what they're saying, but he is not going back to the Dolphins. So why not go to a different contender in the other conference? And I think he's going to go to the Detroit Lions. They just like the Commanders, they could use some corner depth. They could very well draft one, but they also need some veteran guys if they want to keep competing and make another NFC Championship run. I think Xavier Howard can help with that in Detroit. Then Kenny Moore, the Colts. It looks like they want to get a deal done with him, so I'm going to have him go right back to the Colts. And just like Kenny Moore, I'm also going to have Jalen Johnson from the Bears return. They also want to bring him back, and he wants to be back. They franchise tagged him just to not let him hit the market. So I think they get that deal done. Then L'Jarius Sneed of the Chiefs. Now, he did get franchise tagged, but it's looking like they're going to prioritize Chris Jones over him, and he'll most likely get traded, I believe. So I'm going to have the Falcons trade for and then pay him. They have the money. They need corners outside of A.J. Terrell. I think they get L'Jarius Sneed. And then the last corner is Tre'Davious White, who was recently released. Now, he's been great, but he was expensive for the Bills, and he just can't stay healthy. I believe he might have only played like 10 games in the last 2 seasons. So he's had some injury issues, maybe the last 3 seasons, I'm not sure. So I think he replaces Darius Williams, and I think he heads down to Jacksonville to help their defense out. Because they obviously got a great front seven, but they could use some secondary because they released Williams and also Rayshon Jenkins as well. So I think they fill some of that with Tre'Davious White. Hopefully he can stay healthy because he's so good when he is on the field. Now moving on to the safeties. First, this is a long list as well because so many got cut. But first up, we have Jeremy Chinn, who was just a free agent. He wasn't released. I think the Panthers are going to prioritize guys like Burns and Luvu and other positions, so I don't think they're going to be able to bring back Chinn, who has been kind of underutilized the last year or so. So I think he goes to the Commanders to fill Cameron Curl's spot because I think Cameron Curl is going to leave, and I think he goes to the Texans alongside Steven Nelson. Nice young safety who had a great rookie year. He's kind of like, he hasn't necessarily plateaued. I'm not sure. I'm not too in tune with the Commanders. Let me know how Cameron Curl's been. But I think he goes to the Texans. And speaking of the Texans, I think they also pick up former Cardinals safety Budda Baker, who was cut. I think they get 2 safeties and maintain Steven Nelson. And I think I also had him re-sign Jonathan Grenard and get Azeez Al-Shaair. So I think the Texans go all in on offense, go all in on defense, not to mention heavy reports saying that Saquon Barkley is going to potentially go there as well. So I think the Texans spend money this offseason. Then we get Xavier McKinney. Now, he did not receive the franchise tag, but neither did Saquon, which is interesting. So I think Xavier McKinney leaves the Giants, and I think he teams up with Chidobe Awuzie and heads to the Rams. Again, they could use secondary help. Their offense is pretty good as long as Stafford stays healthy. And I guess Cooper Kupp as well, because you got Nakua, Kyren Williams. Their offense is pretty good. They need some defensive help. So I think they get Awuzie and McKinney. Then Kyle Duggar of the Patriots. Now, they did use a franchise tag on him, so I think he stays in New England, as well as Antoine Winfield Jr. I think he also stays in Tampa, as they used the franchise tag on him. Then we get to, now this is the big list of guys that have recently been released. So first we have Eddie Jackson of the Bears. I think he goes to the Dolphins. A veteran guy who, he didn't really have a resurgence, but he got back to his former self somewhat last season with the Bears because he had that great season when they were really good in 2018. So he kind of bounced back. So I think he signs with the Dolphins, provides some veteran presence in the secondary with Jalen Ramsey. Then we get 2 Seahawks safeties that were released, Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. I'm going to have Jamal Adams fill Rayshon Jenkins' spot in Jacksonville. And I think he goes to the Seahawks. I think he goes to the Jags. And then I think Quandre Diggs goes to the Chiefs. Provide nice veteran presence there. And before we get to the rest of the guys that were released, some other notable safeties. Micah Hyde from the Bills. I think there's a chance he retires, but if he doesn't, I could see him going to the Eagles. Just trying to win. trying to compete. Then we get Julian Blackmon. I think he stays with the Colts just like Kenny Moore did. Speaking of staying with their teams, I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he didn't really get a chance to prove himself on the Lions because of his injury, so I think he's back. Then we get Jordan Fuller of the Rams. I think he signs with the Steelers to team up with Kendall Fuller to create a fun little secondary there. Geno Stone of the Ravens. It seems like the Ravens are going to prioritize Madubuike in free agency, so guys like Patrick Queen and Geno Stone could be gone. And Geno Stone just feels like a Seahawk to me. There's no Quandre Diggs, there's no Jamal Adams. He just feels like a Seahawk. And then we get Cameron. And then that's it, actually. Excuse me. So now the last three guys. First, we have Kevin Byard of the Eagles. I think he teams up with Jeremy Chinn, and I think he heads to the Washington Commanders. Stays in their division, gets paid because they have money, just like with J.C. Jackson. They can just pay all these older players. Jeremy Chinn, honestly, not being one of those, but same idea. Then we get Jordan Poyer. So Micah Hyde leaves for the Eagles, and then I see Jordan Poyer leaving for the Cowboys. Cowboys, another team linked to all these safeties. I think they land Jordan Poyer, as well as keeping Stephon Gilmore. They also bring in Poyer to create a pretty decent secondary with Trevon Diggs and Deron Bland. And lastly, but not least, Justin Simmons of the Broncos, the biggest one of them all. This one surprised me. I know he was making a lot of money, but to get rid of a guy like him, you really just have Patrick Surtain back there. But I guess you're going to want to make sure you could pay him and not also have a guy like Simmons on the contract. But whatever. The Packers. I have Justin Simmons going to the Packers. Packers seem destined to spend big money in the secondary this year. And I think that comes because they have the youngest offense in football. They might even have the youngest team. They have a lot of cheap contracts on offense, so I think they spend cheap contracts that play well. So I think they spend all their money on defense, and I think they get a massive addition in the secondary. And who better than Justin Simmons, the best guy now on the market at safety? So I think that's where the Packers' big money comes in this offseason. Because I didn't have them get any of the corners. So I think they go big on Justin Simmons. Yes, he is 30, but he's still an all-pro safety. So I think that's where he lands. And that is going to do it for not only my defensive back free agency predictions, but my 2024 NFL free agency predictions as a whole. Now, if any other players get cut or players that got released at position groups I already did, guys like Mitch Morse, first name to come to mind, they're just not going to... We're just going to grade where they sign, I guess. But let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. Make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe, and turn that notification bell. And I'll be back next time. Peace.